All right, so I went ahead though tonight. So we are doing the this or that. And the this or that came about probably about 2 weeks ago. I looked in my fridge, and it's one of those things. This is where you guys will start to understand about using what you have, the produce. And there were things that were starting to kind of go bad. You know, they're starting to look like, my kids or my husband or myself are not going to eat this fresh, but they're not bad enough to throw away. So I had zucchini, tomatoes, corn, carrots, onions, and I thought, what can I do with this and use it up, because I don't want to throw it out. And I thought, well, let's just throw it all together and see what happens. And that's kind of where this or that came from. So I went ahead, girls, just because I know it's going to be like watching paint dry. I went ahead and started with the zucchini. So can you guys see this zucchini like this right here? I already started to brown it. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you see that it's nice big cubes. So you guys can go ahead, if you haven't already, just cube it up nice and big. And as you can see that even with the veggie broth, because I want you guys to see the end result. It may take you guys a little longer. Even with the veggie broth, you still get these nice brown bits that you can see right here. I don't know if you can see this right here, but you do get the nice brown bits as well too. So just, even though you're not using oil, it does not mean that you're not gonna have that browning of your veggies. So I dumped in the zucchini into my pan, and I'm making a little extra because I'm actually going to share this with somebody who's kind of special, and Heather probably knows who they are. And all I did was use this organic, it doesn't have to be organic, but the vegetable broth. Can you see, girls, see this right here?
Yep.
Yeah, so whatever you have, I would say read, this is going to be surprising, read the ingredients on the back of your carton, because you will a lot of times look to see if there's sugar in it. And if I look at, and fortunately the Wegmans brand does not have sugar in this one. So this is where you have to start to read the ingredients, because you will see that there's all these hidden sugars. So you'd be like, why would there be sugar in it? Because our taste buds are used to sugar. So look to read, and if yours has sugar in it today, that's fine. Next time you just be like, okay, I'll just read the label. It's not a big deal. You know, it's a kind of like you learn as you go type thing. Not a big deal. But so always make sure you read the labels. So as I have this on, I have my zucchini like on medium-high heat, and then I just start adding a little bit of the vegetable broth. As you hear it, you don't want it to stick. And if you think it looks like it's kind of like sticking, just add a little bit more, because the broth is going to absorb anyway. So just keep sauteing your zucchini until you start to get that brown color to it, and just, let it sort of sit over that medium-high heat. And then you'll hear it sizzling, and I'll start to get that nice brown color. And as that's cooking, I'm going to give you a little tip. Let's say y'all are meal prepping for the week, and you're doing any vegetable. It could be broccoli, it could be Brussels sprouts, it could be carrots. I went ahead and pre-steamed my carrots. Now the idea with this is that you cook them till they're almost done, because you know you're going to recook them again into something else. But if you take them out and you leave them in the hot water that they steamed in a microwave, they're going to continue to cook, and then they're going to start to lose that color. So right before they're done, pull them from the microwave and put them in cold water to stop the cooking process. And then you're going to keep this nice bright color. Do you see, you can see how bright, orange this still is. It's really still bright orange. Even though they're cooked, I stopped it by putting them in cold water, blanching them, because I know they're going to continue to cook once they're in here, and I didn't want them to overcook and then be soggy and then lose that vibrant color, because that's what we want. So just keep sauteing, girls. Watch that zucchini. Make sure it's not going to burn. Add the broth as necessary, because you don't want it to stick. And you can see, we don't need oil. We're just going to keep adding a little bit of this. And the best thing about this is it's actually better the second day, because all those flavors marinate together. So I would say this should probably cook maybe about 15 minutes or so. But we're going to go ahead, and what I'm going to do is I am going to add in my onions that I have right here. And you can see they're nice big chopped chunks pieces. This is one of those dishes that you don't have to finely chop. It's literally just chunks. So I'm gonna go ahead and dump those in. You may have to add, as I said, just watch what you're doing accordingly. Add that vegetable broth so it's not sticking and stirring. So, let me make sure I don't burn myself. And I'm going to give you an update. This is the way it looks on my side so far. You've got the onions, you've got the zucchini going. And you just now want the onions to start to sort of get soft as well too. You may have to up that heat to a little bit higher. And you're going to sort of let that go for a little bit, just sort of those onions start to start to get soft again. And since the carrots are already cooked, let's go ahead and dump the carrots in too, because they'll finish cooking while they're in there. And you're going to give it a little mix. And here we're back. I'll give you a little update. This is the way it looks again. It steams all over the place. We've got the carrots, the onions, the zucchini going. Are we good, girls? We're good? Give me a thumbs up. We're good? Okay. So here, let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and tell you, there's no right way or wrong way to do this. There really, really isn't. You just sort of want to get those vegetables soft and saute them. Garlic, I think I said 1 teaspoon. If you love garlic, add some more. There's no wrong way to do this. If you don't like garlic, add a little less. I'm not a measurer. I have like a little, I don't know, I guess it's like literally like a teaspoon. And I'm going to actually, because we love garlic, I'm going to put 2 in. And I'm making a little bit more, like I said, because I'm going to share it. So I put 2 good heaping teaspoons in, and I'm going to mix it all up again. Is your zucchini starting to soften, girls? Is it getting a little softer? How are we doing? Is it softening up a little bit, browning? Good?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay, perfect. And the only thing is we're going to kind of wait to the end to put those tomatoes in, because the tomatoes are obviously softer. They're going to cook faster, and you want to keep that vibrant color. You want to keep them whole. You don't want them to turn to mush. So the tomatoes are always going to be usually one of the last things that I will personally add into something, unless I'm making sauce or something that I really want them to cook down into. Another idea, look to see if you guys need a little bit more broth. You may need a little bit more broth. You may have enough broth in there that the vegetables are starting to give off some of that juices from themselves, that you don't have to add it in. So it sort of looks like a odd giant stir fry in a way.
Yeah.
How's it? You guys are doing good? It's all good?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and remember we talked about big batch cooking? That was the other thing. I had fresh corn off the cob from the other day, and you can literally see it is off the cob, that I have literally cut it. Like, I have a full strip right here. It's a nice long strip of corn right off the top. All I did was cut it, and I'm kind of like broke it, like literally in half. Like, I literally just tore it in pieces once I cut it off the cob. I'm going to go ahead and just dump that right in, girls. And I'm going to mix it all in. And like I said, I'm doubling my recipe just because I'm going to be sharing it. And that's a good idea. You know, you can always freeze stuff, girls, or if you know, there's somebody else that you know that's on the same, healthy path that you're on, trying to get on track. You guys, maybe if you're close, maybe a family member or a neighbor or a friend, you can always do a food swap. If they do one recipe, you could do another, and you could always swap it. So you have like 2 dinners. So that's always a nice idea to, I would say, to reach out to someone you know, or put it on the side. It's good for lunches. It's good for, freeze it. This stuff, most of the things like this, you can freeze, like get those containers, put it in, let it defrost out. You may have to add a little bit more broth or a little bit more water to defrost it. Once you start to cook it, if it seems like it's not, there's not enough liquid in it, but it's one of those things. So I'm going to give you another look without catching anything on fire. This is the way, without steaming up the camera. Can you girls see this?
Nice.
So we got this going. It sort of looks like a giant stir fry right now. So we're going to go ahead and add in, it's just canned tomatoes, girls. Diced canned tomatoes. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to have anything in it. I'm actually adding an extra can because of the amount I'm doing. And I'm going to just mix that all in together. On my side, I turned the heat down just a little bit because I now want this to start to kind of like simmer all together. And do a nice mix. And then the last step that I'm going to do is, well, it's not the last, it's second to last. I'm going to go ahead and, y'all are going to laugh at me. Yes, I have a whole pot of herbs de Provence. You're going to be like, what the heck? So I use this a lot. I mean, it's one of those spices that's kind of like universal. You can add it into soups. If you are a meat eater, if you do like meat or chicken or seafood, you can sprinkle it on top. You can grill with this, like kind of like let it sort of marinate with like a dressing type idea as well too. It's just funny because I have a whole pot. It's a very popular spice to use in Europe, and since we lived there for quite some time, I didn't even know what it was until I met my husband, and he was like, herbs de Provence, and I'm like, what's that? So anyway, but I've learned to cook with it. It's kind of universal. You could throw it in soups. You can put it on meat. You can do it in this or that recipes. It's just a lot of really nice herbs. So again, start with a little bit. I'm sure you guys can smell it. Start with a little bit. I think I said 3 to 4 tablespoons. Start with 2 to 3. And see how you feel about it. And if you think you need more, you can add a little bit more. It's always better to start with less than more because you can't take it away with food. That's one thing. So I don't measure. So I'm just going to take a couple little sprinkles and I'm literally just going to go around the top with it. I did like 3 big sprinkles. And I'm going to show you. Mine is like bubbling, so it's like a low simmer right now. But I'm going to pull it off, and I'm going to attempt to show you without spilling everything. Because I have a very full pot right now. So this is the way mine looks right now. I don't know if you girls can see it through the camera.
Yeah, looks great.
So I'm going to mix those herbs in, get all those flavors starting to marinate. It's just gently bubbling. Everything's continuing to kind of cook. Right now, I can tell you the onions are starting to finally soften up right now. And this is where you should start to smell like the herbs and the garlic and everything starting to all come together. How are we doing, girls? Are we good?
Yep.
Okay. And I just turn my heat down to like low, and I'm just letting it kind of bubble and all kind of like simmer together. And this one I'm gonna let you guys have a little bit. I still have my tomatoes. I have not let my tomatoes in yet, just because I don't want them to like get mushy. I'm gonna step over and I'm gonna grab some stuff, because this is one of those things you're like, okay, well, I have this now, what do I do with it? And we were talking about before about grains and rices, and this is a good thing that you could serve. You could serve this over like a grain, a rice, and then put a nice big side salad with it. You can even scoop this over. We've talked about sweet potatoes or baked potatoes for later in the week to make another dish, because as it sits overnight, it's going to sort of absorb some of those liquids, and it's going to get a little thicker. What do you, show me, I'm having a hard time seeing you, Kim. Let me see. Kim, what do you have? Let me see. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay, red potatoes. There we go. There we go. See, that's another good one. Yeah. So I'm going to show you. Y'all are going to think I'm nuts again. That's okay, because I am a bit nuts. These are staples that I keep in my pantry. So I have couscous like this. All right, and you really are going to think I'm like crazy. I have different rices like this, and this is a good one. It's called Seeds of Change, and this one you can find it. I usually shop at Wegmans. That's my go-to store, but I have not looked. I'm sure Giant or ShopRite, some of the other big retailers will have this. I have all different ones. I have ones that is brown and red rice. I have brown and balsamic rice. I have 7 whole grains rice. And then these are a couple of the other ones that I have. I have like a mountain blend of different rices here as well. Here I have good old farro that we have here, and red quinoa, which is a good old standard that I always have on hand because I can use this for tacos as well. So these are all things like a dish like this that you can easily serve everything over on top of, to add a few grains in as well too. Works great. So you're not just eating just this, because people may say, you know, some people who are used to like heavier meals, they're going to want that. And you do need a little bit of that binding. Go ahead and cook extra. Because the reason I would say that is that, remember, big batch cooking later in the week. This could be used for the salsa recipe that we're going to do on Thursday. This is something that you could spoon the salsa over, and I'll get to that at the very end. You know, what you could add to that salsa, but this is one of those dishes that if you have rice or quinoa or farro or couscous on hand in your fridge pre-made, you can add it to a salad. You can add it into, like, you know, a soup or something like that. It's always there ready to go, and so you have a grab and go ready to go. So I'm really, but you do see, like, I am a fan of the pouches because it's 90 seconds and it does cut down on time and it is easy. Just, again, read the ingredients. Just read the ingredients. Like these ones, if I look at this one, the only thing it says is wheat. It says wheat farro on it. That's it. That's the only ingredient. So the fewer the ingredients, the better the product. And that way, if it's got a whole list, you may want to put it down and walk away unless you really can pronounce everything on the ingredient list. But again, you know, you have to pick and choose where you kind of want to go with this and how much you want to go. So mine, I don't know how, I'm going to look at mine. I think this is looking pretty darn good over here. This looks like it's all kind of like marinated together. It's kind of all coming together. Girls, are we good? You want to give me a thumbs up? Are we good? Is it kind of all simmering together?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, perfect. So for mine, let me see if I can get it. This is pretty darn cool, but let me see if I can raise it up and show you without spilling it. This is the way mine looks. Can you girls see it?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get in the camera without spilling it. So we got that, and then I'm gonna go ahead with mine. What I'm gonna do personally, I'm gonna turn the heat off because I know how hot the vegetables are, and at this point I'm gonna add my tomatoes in, and I'm gonna let the heat of all the vegetables kind of start to cook these so they don't get soggy, if that makes sense, because you don't want them to become overcooked. So I'm actually gonna turn my heat off, and I just dumped everything in, and I'm gonna stir those tomatoes in and let the heat of all those veggies start to kind of cook the tomatoes, if that makes sense. And this is gonna probably sit and let it simmer, just let it sort of like absorb everything for maybe about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, sort of, it just starts to all. And then like I said, you guys can like take this and you can serve it over any grain that you want. That's how I did it here at home. And you can steam broccoli, you could steam asparagus, you could steam Brussels sprouts. Even put that on the side if you want more veggies. Serve it with a salad, or you could just put it over a grain and leave it like that. So anyway, girls, I'll stay with you, and I hope you guys like this recipe, and I hope if you have any questions, reach out to me, let me know how it goes, and share your pictures. See you later, girls.